What if we can positively impact society by reshaping the mindsets of young men? And while we're at it, let me ask you, what does it mean to be a man? My name is Dennis Meralda, a father, a teacher, a coach, a mentor, and a principal with over 2 decades of experience shaping the minds and characters of young men across the United States. If these questions resonate, if you're a young man looking to improve your life or a parent looking for tools to help your son become the best version of himself, the Building Men podcast was created for you. What's up, everyone? Welcome to the Building Men podcast, or welcome back if you are a longtime listener. As always, I'm your host, Dennis Meralda, joined today by my new man, Jim DeFalco, with tremendous mustache, I have to say. I just have there's a special spot in my heart for someone who goes out and is like, I'm rocking a mustache right now. So just to start off with, I wanted to just acknowledge the stash. Jim, in our brief discussion before, told me that he's a recovering addict. He has created a program called the Awakened Father. He's a father of 2 boys, aged 10 and 7. We'll definitely get into that and so much more. Jim, welcome. Appreciate you being here.
Hi, me, Dennis. Thank you so much, man.
Yeah, brother. So let's start with the mustache. How long have you had the mustache?
I
Let's
actually
kick it
had
in.
the mustache before mustaches were cool,
Yeah.
right? Like it's been like 3.5 years now, I
Okay.
think.
Yeah, that's definitely that.
Something like that. So I had a beard kind of like you, but I
Yeah.
was always a little patchy, right? And so one day I'm like, you know what? I'm shaving it, screw it. And I kind of shaved it, just like left the mustache to like see. And my girlfriend, now fiance now girlfriend at the time, was like, I kind of like it. I was like, me too. I was like, and just been rocking it since.
Yeah, if you can get the endorsement from the significant other with the mustache, usually it's like that's really creepy. Get shave that off your
Yeah.
face right now, or I'm not going out in public with you. So 3.5 years, were you the type of kid as you were growing up where you wanted to grow the facial hair like the little bit of the porn stash as you were growing up? Was that you? I remember I could grow nothing on my upper lip. I could grow a beard like Abe Lincoln. I could grow
Yeah.
a full beard, but the mustache just never hit for me. So was that you growing up a little bit?
No, I never had like an aspiration to like have a stash or anything. But like I always remember my dad even at like in his 40s and 50s were like was like struggling to get the beard to come in a little
Yeah.
bit. Like it's yeah, I struggle with the same thing. So I eventually just shaved it off and the stash comes in pretty full. So
So full transparency, Building Men exclusive here. I'll share a quick story with you before we dive deep into your story. I don't know
yeah.
if the audience has ever heard this one. So this is back to when I was a middle school principal on the Jersey Shore. Every year we would do a fundraiser, like a canned food drive, and we did a lot of these during the year. It was like service oriented, and it was during the NCAA tournament, but we called it March Mustache Madness. And so there were 8 or 9 guys in the school that participated in it. And the deal was like you can grow a beard during February, but on March 1st, you had to shave off the beard and leave just the mustache. And we would, we drew numbers out of a hat. So basically, you were like seated against another person. So it would be like me versus you. And
Yeah.
whoever received more canned foods in the picture of them with the mustache, they moved on to the next round. And so over the course of the month, like we held this, it was like from the Elite Eight to the Final Four to the championship. And as the principal of the school, every year I made it into the championship. Some years I won, some years I came in second place, but every
Yeah.
year in March when I was a principal, I had a mustache. And my mustache game, my beard carries a lot of it. It really, I'll be honest with you. Just a mustache by itself, it's a creepy look. And at the time I also had my head shaved on like a 2-clip. So it was like a short haircut, mustache, and it was my cousin's wedding. My cousin Lisa got married that month, and they were doing a huge family picture. And she's like, "Den, you gotta shave the mustache for the family picture." And I'm like, "Absolutely not, Lisa." I'm like, I have to do this. This is for the kids. This is for the homeless. This is for the hungry people out there." And so
Yeah.
there's a picture of me. It was like from 2013-ish time frame with the mustache, and it will live in infamy as that time that I tried to grow the mustache. So anyway, it connected me to that story. So walk me back. I asked you, Jim, about, were you the type of kid as you were growing up, like, all right, I'm gonna try the porn stash, I'm gonna try the facial hair. Talk to me a little bit about who you were as a young man. So take us back in time, like middle school, high school age range. Who were you? Like talk to us a little bit about who you were.
Yeah. So like middle school, high school, like I was big like into partying.
Okay.
Like partying, fighting. Like my father, he raised me with a lot of like false ideologies, I guess, of like what a man was,
Yeah.
right? So if you ask me like middle school, high school, even to like my young 20s, right? Like if you asked me like what a man was, I would have been like, how much money do you make? How much can you party? How much drugs you can do? How many girls have you been with? How many fights have you won,
Hmm.
etc. That's what I thought like a man was at that time. Um, because my dad made millions of dollars, right? He made 1 to 2 million annually. We had lived on a lake, had limos, yachts, things like that. And so I saw the way he was partying, the way he was living his life, and I was like, I want to do that,
Hmm.
right? There was like no reason not to. That's like all I knew as a kid. So, um, we literally like in high school, junior, senior year, I call up my limo driver, Wally. I'm like, Wally, come pick us up. Like, we're going downtown. He'd get alcohol for us, and, all my friends and girls would hop into the limo. We'd go downtown, we'd party, and like, that was like the life. I thought I was gonna, just live that lifestyle forever. I couldn't wait to kind of take over the business and follow my dad in his footsteps.
To learn more about our programs, including one-on-one mentorship coaching, the foundation, our Building Men online group community for young men, or to bring a Building Men experience to your school, check out our website, buildingmen.io, or click the links in the bio. Now, back to the show. Yeah, and it's interesting, Jim. It's so prevalent. I connect to it because I was raised in very similar way. It wasn't with the millions of dollars. My father made a good living, but it wasn't, it wasn't like that. There wasn't a limo driver or anything, but it was the same idea. It was um like basically like physically dominant. You need to be able to dominate people physically, and then sexual conquest, how many girls were you with, or the hot, how hot were they, and then
Yep.
the accumulation of the stuff. And it's so interesting that those were the things that you picked out, Jim. When I go into a school now, when I do a Building Men program with middle school or high school boys, the first meeting that we have, I share my story. And then what I do is I ask them to build me a man. Like, what is a man? And it's those three things will come out in some way, shape, or form. So the
Yeah.
boys still think that based on what they're seeing in social media and society, they still will value those things. And I start to cut them down like, okay, they're all surface level, they really don't mean anything, and they can all be taken away from you very, very quickly. So let's build our idea about what it means to be a man. So if you were to take us back in time, what did you need? Like, what if you had an opportunity to go back and have a conversation with yourself and like, yo, shake yourself a little bit, what would be some
Yeah.
advice that you might give to a younger version of you?
Younger version of me is like, for one, stop drinking, stop smoking, stop partying, like invest in myself, in my health, in my like mental, in like my knowledge, right? And also that like losing your temper and being aggressive is not a sign of strength. It's actually a sign of weakness,
Hmm.
right? Yeah, there are times where you have to be physical to protect your family, things like that, where you have to stand up for yourself. But in most cases, right, like my dad would lose his temper and like punch holes in walls, like just over a phone call, right? And I thought that was like strength. I thought that was power. And what I've realized through the last decade or so is that really being able to control your emotions and not let other external forces dictate how you feel internally, like that's real strength. And I've gotten a lot of trouble in my life, because I wasn't able to control my temper, control my emotions, hurt a lot of people, ruined a lot of relationships, as well as with the drugs and the alcohol. Like I thought like that's what your 20s was about, right? And in the last like 7 years or so, I've obviously cut all of that out and I've built an amazing life for myself. And like, I'm glad I went down the path I did because I wouldn't be the man I am
Right.
today, right? So it made me who I am. But like, I obviously don't want my kids to go down the same path, right? So one day they're still young, 10 and 7. I'll share my story with them, but they know dad messed up. They know dad used to be a different person. My stuff's all over YouTube and things. Eventually, I'm sure they'll come across it. But I would rather invest in myself in my 20s, right? My
Right.
knowledge, my physical health, right? And I truly believe that physical fitness is a catalyst for just growth in all areas of life. And it really
Yeah.
creates that mental strength and mental fortitude, because when you can put yourself in stressful situations every single day and like push through, It enables you to control your temper better, right? And not lose your emotions in other situations, in real life situations.
Man, you are preaching to the choir right now. I
Yeah.
wholeheartedly believe and resonate with everything that you just talked about, right? There are a lot of just similar type experiences. So I'm wondering, Jim, as you're telling this story, I had a moment for myself, but mine wasn't until my mid 40s, early 40s, that I had this like awakening type moment, right? You were talking about your experience, a recovering addict, and you were partying through your 20s and living that type of lifestyle, like this, like a toxic male ideology. I don't like the term toxic masculinity. I like toxic male ideology because
Yeah.
it's like, I think masculinity is a positive thing. So I don't like to
Definitely.
associate those two words together.
Yeah.
But you were living the life. So talk to us a little bit about potentially like a story that you can remember of like, crazy situation, and then if you could weave that into a moment that you had, like did you have that moment where you're like, all right, no mas, no more, I'm changing things
Yeah.
right now?
Yeah. It didn't come till I was like 30, actually. And actually, at like 21, 22, my family lost everything. So I went to Florida State. I had a crazy experience there. Like, I was literally like, I wasn't into drugs that serious yet, right? But I would black out every time I drank. Like this tooth right here, like
Yeah.
it's an implant. It was like a hangover moment. I woke up and like I looked in the mirror and I was like, what happened? And like my friends had to be like, you fell on the table.
Oh my god.
Like just like, and I continued down that path. And when I graduated college, I thought I was gonna take over my dad's business. I was gonna party harder, make more money than he ever did, right? And then the crash happened in 2008, right? My dad was invested heavily into real estate. He was in the automotive advertising business. Those were the two markets that kind of got hit the hardest: automotive and real estate. And my dad, even though he's making seven figures, he was spending seven figures, right? He wasn't, he was living like he was making like eight or, figures. So we lost everything like really quick. So we went from like up here to like down here
Hmm.
very fast. And so for the next like decade or so, I continued drinking, continued partying. I had to take over my dad's business. I ended up like 40 grand in debt with the IRS, because my dad was doing the payroll taxes and I was just running the business. Um, Physically fought my father. He broke into my house. So just like a whole bunch of things happened. And then eventually I got into opiates and Xanax, right? Those were the ones like I could still drink and like work and make money and manage my life somewhat, I guess. But once the opiates and Xanax took place, I lost everything very quickly. And it was actually the year before my son was born. That's when I got into it, my first son. And it didn't stop till about he was like 2.5 years old. So I was actually using for the first couple of years of his life. And for a while there, eventually, I guess my fiance at the time, my ex, she kicked me out of the house for continuously using. She's like, "You're done. You're out." So I didn't talk to my dad for like 3 or 4 years because of that fight, that altercation. But I didn't have anywhere to go. My mom wouldn't take me. My friends wouldn't take me because I was
Wow.
lying, cheating, stealing from everyone at that point, right? No one trusted me to be in their house, and rightfully so at that point, right? And so my dad took me in, and instead of helping me get my life back on track and everything, he bought a lot of drugs, and we just went on like a bender for
Wow.
like a week straight. Um, and I remember not like a fun party bender. It was like I would like wake up and like snort a Xanax and like snort an oxy and like just go back to sleep because like I just hated myself like so much and I was so miserable. Um, I eventually went into work. I lost my job. I didn't remember going in that day, right? So I'm kicked out of my house. I just had my car repossessed, and I was about to lose the apartment that I was staying in as well. And then my fiance at the time called me, and she's like, "I'm pregnant again," and I was like, "Oh fuck." Um, can't take care of myself. Can't take care of my
Wow.
one son that I already had. And I just remember at that point, I blamed everything else except me, right? Because like I thought I was gonna have this amazing life, take over this business, and it was all taken away from me. And it was God, it was the economy, it was my father's fault, right? I didn't take any blame. And I remember at that point, man, I fell to my knees. And I remember I was like screaming at God, just like bawling, crying my eyes out. I was like, why me? Like, why? Like, what have I done? What have I done to deserve this? Why are you putting me through this? Like it was his fault or something. And I'm getting emotional even thinking about it right now. I got
Yeah.
the chills, and like in that moment, it hit me that it was all my fault. Like, and that immense pain, right? Because like it's easy to blame other people, right? And you can, and it almost keeps you safe, right, from your own decisions because you're like this fault, right? But you keep repeating the same decisions because you're blaming others, so there's no reason to change. But when you take accountability, you really feel that pain and that hurt, and that pain drove me to change. And at that point, I was so disappointed in myself. I hated myself so much.
Yeah.
I actually attempted to like I started like cutting my wrist a little bit. My friends found out what I was doing. They called the cops. I went to a mental health facility for like 3, 4 days. They Baker acted me. And at that time, I really didn't care what happened to me. I had like a spiritual experience where I saw my sons like becoming me, right? And I walked out of that place to change man. I was like, I'm not using it again. I'm not doing it, you know? And so once I walked out of there, I decided to change my life and to turn things around.
Dude, that's powerful story, man. I could feel the emotion as you were sharing it. Thank you, brother. Yeah, really. I again, in your journey, not the same in any way, but the feelings definitely resonate with me. When I work with schools now and I work with kids, I think that there are these three. I call them the three thieves, three things that get in their way of success, and it's
Yeah.
resistance, distraction, and victimhood. And
Victim.
usually it's right, it's one of those things. And I would say that you had all three going against you, like resistance, the whatever the hard thing was in front of you, distractions, and the distractions for you were drugs and alcohol, and then victimhood, blaming everyone else for the problems
Yeah.
that you're facing. And it's a real thing, and unless we combat them head on, they will always rear their ugly heads. So for you, once you made that decision to change and to, what was the first thing? What was your step one on the million step journey?
I got in the gym. Like physical
Yeah.
fitness was like the first step, right? Because it's a lot harder to change like your inner game before you change like the outer, right? And it has a huge impact. And I was always like, I played football and baseball in high school. I was always like in the weight room, and I even worked out, you know, through my 20s. But once I got into the opiates and Xanax, I was literally about 125, 130 pounds,
Wow.
soaking wet. I'm 5'9". I'm like 180 now. And I just got in the gym, right? And it was hard at first. It was like I hated it. It wasn't good, but after about a month or so, 6 weeks, and I started to get addicted. I started to love it. And then that I had so many limiting beliefs like about myself, right? I was just this loser, I was this drug addict, I was good for nothing, right? But once I saw the transformation I was able to make with my body and the things I was able to do in just a short amount of time, I was like, whoa, like it almost gave me permission to challenge those limiting beliefs in other areas of my life. Like, man, I never thought I could make this transformation in 3, 4 months. Like, I wonder what else I could do. Like, and so then I started doing kind of some of like the inner work, right? Like journaling, meditation, podcasts, books, educating myself on the subconscious mind and how people create change.
Yeah. And with you, when you made the decision to start working out and training, getting yourself back in shape, was it cold turkey with the other stuff? Did you just stop drinking and using drugs?
Yeah, so I didn't stop drinking immediately, right?
Okay.
And so I still drank like now and then, but I cut out like the hard drugs immediately,
Okay.
right? I still drank and smoked for a while, actually for a couple of years, and my life really didn't start progressing until like I cut everything out, right? I wanted to hold on to it for a little bit, and like especially the smoking. I cut out the drinking like, a long time ago. It wasn't until about a couple of years ago to really I just cut out like everything. Um,
Smoking cigarettes or weed?
weed.
Okay.
Yeah. So I would still like smoke weed every day, and I was like, and I almost like rationalized it as
Yeah.
like I was like, man, like look, like I'm making good money now. I have a great body. I have a beautiful family. I have a business. Yeah, like I'm good. Like I can smoke weed at night, right? And it wasn't until like I really cut it out until I'm like, wow, like it was impacting me in a negative way, way more than I thought. I thought I tricked myself into like it was helping me. I thought it was helping me and benefiting me. And when I really just like cut it all out, and I might have still like a drink every now and then when I'm out with my fiance at dinner or something. But that's probably like 2, 3 times a year. And to be honest with you, the more that I do it, the farther the gaps become in between me doing it. It might be 3 months and then 6 months, and then it's probably been about 5 or 6 months since I've had a drink now.
So if someone's listening right now and they find themselves going down the path that you were on in your late teens into your 20s, where they're doing a lot of those negative things, those distractions that are getting in their way, and your advice is like, okay, start working on yourself, get into the gym, and they're out of shape, they don't have the motivation to do it. What's something that you could say that will help them? Is there some place that you would start, like, all right, just start by walking, just start by doing push-ups? Like, what would be the like step one as they get themselves back into shape?
Yeah, it's just like get started exactly. Just get started with something, right? And I think like the walking and the push-ups are great, right? But I think being in that environment,
Yeah.
like in the gym with other people, and I know it can be intimidating at first, especially if you're out of shape, you don't know what you're doing. But I think investing yourself like into someone who does know what they're doing, right? A trainer, an online coach, like just someone who can give you guidance, and be like that accountability, be that support system. Over the last years, I've probably spent like $40,000 in mentors within business, fitness, mindset. I wouldn't be where I am without them today. I didn't start initially with that. I wish I would have, right? But my advice is just to like get in there, even just if it's for 30 minutes a day,
Yeah.
right? And just do something, get moving, and get uncomfortable. It's like I said, the first 3 to 6 weeks, you're gonna walk out of there like that sucked. I feel terrible. But then eventually, like one day, it's gonna be like, that was awesome, right? And you're going to become addicted to the progress, addicted to because at that point in my life, right, I felt like I had no control of anything, right? Um, but within those like gym walls, like you have control of everything. Like your energy, your effort, and your results are just based on you. And anything else in life, pretty much, you have to rely on other people, things to make things work. But in the gym, it's just you, and you have 100% control of the results that you're going to get.
Right. And as long as you're going in, it's you versus you yesterday, right?
Yeah,
It's you.
exactly.
The other thing that makes me think of too is there's an old, I guess it's like a Chinese proverb. It's something along the lines of the best time to plant a tree is 20 years ago. The second best time to plant a tree is today. So you
Yeah,
could stay in that what if mindset, but all right, you didn't do it 20 years ago, 10 years ago. You didn't start working out yesterday, but you have an opportunity today to get it going. So
yeah,
take the opportunity to do it today. So I want to go back to a point in the story that you were telling Jim about the moment that you woke up and your tooth was like, you look in the mirror, you're like, what the
yeah.
hell just happened last night? Like, as you're telling the story, like, I envision, like, there's a blow up doll, there's chickens running around the floor, there's a jungle cat in the bathroom, and Mike Tyson's ready to knock your face out listening to In the Air Tonight by Phil Collins. Like, that's where I go in my head. Um, so take us to the story with your dad now. So when you said you went on this bender with your dad, what was the discussion like with him during that time? Was it like you felt like, I'm a piece of shit, I can't say my dad, but at least I'm here, we're doing this together? Like, did you have discussions with him during that time, or was it more just like, I'm here because it's a space to go to sleep and go F yourself?
Yeah, pretty much. And to be honest, like I don't remember much of that week, right? I don't think we talked much at all, right? And his whole his whole mentality was just I do remember we did discuss it a little bit, but his whole mentality was just like F this, F that, like, and like, here, just snort this pill, like you'll feel better, right? And my dad actually gave me my first oxy, like, I think I was like just about to graduate in like 2008. He was prescribed to them because he just had back surgery. And that was back before like we even knew what they were, right? Like when they just came
Right.
out. And I'm like, Dad, what are you taking? He's like, I don't know, but they're awesome here. Right. And I remember taking one. I was like, oh wow. And yeah, that was like kind of the beginning of the end for that. Yeah.
Yeah, it's funny. Like you hear the stories about dads, like, all right, son, let's go out and have a catch. Not, all right, son, snort this oxy pill or
Yeah,
whatever it is.
he at 13 years old, we went to New York to watch the Yankees play in the World Series. We're staying at like the Plaza. It was like a three-story penthouse. It was insane, and the Yankees lost to the Diamondbacks in like Game 6, I think it was.
Oh, game 7. Oh man, that hurts
Yeah,
my heart thinking
Craig
about that.
Counsell like hit it, and as like a 12, 13-year-old kid,
Oh,
I was devastated, right? But so instead of my dad like I don't know getting me some ice cream or taking on me on a shopping spree or something like whatever, he got me drunk and bought me an escort at 13 years old.
holy shit.
And yeah, and like you know, this was all kind of in front of my younger brother who was 9 or 10 at the time as well. And God rest his soul, he actually lost his battle to addiction about 3 years ago,
Your
uh,
younger brother did.
last November. Yeah, actually, I lived with him at the time. He was clean for like 3 years.
Wow.
COVID happened, lost his meetings, lost church, and those were he was going like the 3 meetings of the week in church every Sunday. He lost that, and he was always up at like 5, 6 a.m. and it was like 7. He wasn't up. I knew something was wrong, and started banging on his door. It was locked, and I went around his window and um, I found him lying there.
Holy shit, dude. That's crazy, man. My condolences. That's some heavy stuff right there.
Yeah,
Been through a lot, dude. And uh, real quick, I want to close the loop on a couple things there with the experience with your dad after the World Series game.
yeah,
So you went out. Was that the first time that you got drunk? Was that time after the game?
yeah. Hmm.
And your brother was there watching you with an escort,
So no, we went in like the other room, but
but
like it was kind of obvious. Yeah, like what? Yeah,
and you had sex with her,
yeah.
and that was your first time having sex. Well, yeah, it's
Mhm.
so even with that, did that as you got older, was there like dysfunction around that? Because it like that must have been, I mean, at the time you're probably like, this is so great, but probably
Exactly. I
some
told
like
all my friends like, oh,
trauma.
like, and they're like, oh, your
Yeah,
dad's so cool.
the
But
coolest
dude,
guy
I
in the
didn't realize
world.
how bad it messed up like my um so my dad at like even at 15, 16 years old, he's like, you're almost a man now, like find a good wife and you know, um, just fuck as many girls as you can, right? And that's what I did for the longest time, right? I cheated on every single girl that I had relationships with because I that experience I think almost just like taught me that they were just almost like objects almost, right? And so that's why I had some amazing women in my life, right? And I've just had so many different so many messed up ideologies,
Yeah.
right? That led me to hurt them and things like that. So Kim, my fiance now, she's the first girl that I've been fully faithful to, like 100%. She's my kid's stepmom and she's amazing. And I truly feel that like I've just went through everything to help me become the man I am today, so I could be here for not only my boys but for her as well. And yeah, it messed me up. Like I thought it was the coolest thing at the time, but it was pretty traumatic looking back at it.
And what was your brother's name?
Anthony.
Anthony. So I'm saying my younger brother's Anthony as well. When with everything that happened with your brother, like how how did that like impact you as far as like you know your own recovery? Did you like think about slipping back in, or like I want to numb the pain with drugs or alcohol? Was that a challenging thing for you during that time to stay on the right path?
It definitely like popped into my head, like for sure. It was actually, I think, a couple of months after I met Kim, my fiance, and so like
Right.
she was just a major support system for me. Um, but I know like no matter what happens, I'm never going because I know what'll happen, right? You can go from 0 to 100
Yeah.
real quick. I definitely numbed myself with weed for that time, right? Like I smoked a lot,
Okay.
just numbing myself and looking back at it, right? I wish I could have abstained from that and not done that. But yeah, so that's what I did at that time. And I thought I like forgave my father for everything that he put us through, right? So I did a lot of like inner work and shadow work and just really just identifying some experiences I've had and tried to reframe those as kids. Like he did his best. That's how he was raised,
Hmm.
right? So like he did, you know what I'm saying? So um he thought he was doing good, I guess. And but once my brother passed, it just brought up all those like it's your fault, Dad. Like for everything that you showed us as kids.
Was there a lesson that you learned about dealing with grief that you could pass on to your own kids that you learned from that experience when Anthony passed?
Yeah. So it was actually the good things can come from anything, even an experience like that, right? So that's where I got the idea for the Awakened Father. Actually, I truly don't think that I would have came up with that because before I was coaching kind of in like just like an off like people who would reach out to me randomly like and it was didn't have any structure. I didn't have a niche. And one day I was meditating shortly after that and like it just hit me. I was like, oh, the awakened father. And so like not only do I help men get in shape like physically and mentally, but also more so just helping dads become more conscious and aware of the obviously most fathers aren't like as I had um intense as I was,
Right.
right? But as my dad was, I mean, but more so just being able to help dads identify the generational patterns and trauma that they may have and that they may be passing down to their kids, whether it's the temper, whether it's the drinking a couple beers every night, right? Whether it's just the way that they talk to their wife, right? So like I work with a lot of like alpha men, right? And I'm an alpha male as well, but I also am very in touch with my emotions. Like I
Yeah.
meditate, I journal, like every single day, and a lot of these guys have a lot of resistance to those things, right? They're like, I hired you to get me in shape. And I'm like, yes, we're doing that, but like, we're also going to do the inner work as well, right? And it's cool to see like the transformation. Like, man, I had so much resistance to get this, but now I actually like the work. So I truly feel like without that bad circumstance, like, I think there's a good thing that can come from everything. And now I get to impact, hundreds and thousands of other men so my brother's death doesn't have to be in vain, right?
So you're using that point of pain as an opportunity to like drive your passion moving forward, and just to honor his memory. I think that's a really powerful way to do it. So your
Yeah.
avatar is a guy who is, he's a father. He's struggling with, not only the physical health, but probably the mental, emotional health as well. But he might not be in touch with that piece yet. It's probably just like, I want a six pack. But you're like, dude, it's because all the other shit that you've been through in your whole life.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, pretty much, right? So that's, like a dad who like, you give them you give the clients like what they sell them what they want at first, but then give them what they need.
Yeah.
Right? You know what I'm saying? And really provide that. Like I have a whole Google Drive of just different meditations and journaling prompts and resources and even things that we can do with their kids, right? So like a core belief worksheet that takes dads through like a 15 to 17 different questions on like what core beliefs they want to pass down to their children. And because most dads like never even like think about that. Like, hey, like what beliefs and what values and morals am I passing to my kids through my actions, right? You can think you want to do something, but like, are you actually in alignment with those? Are you acting in congruence with the lessons you want to teach your kid, or do you get home and bitch about your boss every day and complain and whine? And blame other people and talk ill about other people in front of them, right? And like, what kind of lessons are they getting from you from that? So it helps them identify not only where they need to course correct, but also there's this game where you get like a poster board or a whiteboard, right? And you cut out all these different positive and negative beliefs. Like I'm strong, or I can't do anything, or like I'm powerful, or like I'm scared. And the kids get to decide what beliefs they have about themselves. So it helps them become conscious and aware of their own belief systems. And I use that to guide my kids as well. So like when they're acting out of congruence with that, instead of being like, hey, stop it, you know, sometimes I do that, right? So, like maybe I'll do, but I'm like, hey man, like remember, like you, one of your values is to be a good brother, right? Yeah. I'm like, are you being a good brother right now? It's, no. Well, how can you change your behavior? So it helps them kind of course correct instead of me just, no, do this.
And the other thing that you're doing is you're reflecting their behaviors back on themselves, right? So it's not just they're doing it to make you happy or to not piss you off. They're doing it because they're internalizing whatever those things are. The other thing that you mentioned, Jim, is the importance of the intentionality behind it. Like, be really open and honest with yourself about what is important to you. What are the lessons that you want to pass along to your own children? Because if you're not doing it, or if you're just haphazardly doing it, they're going to learn those lessons from peer group, from social media, from the stupid video games that they're playing. They'll learn those lessons in some way, shape, or form. So you have the opportunity. And the earlier that you start, the more likely your kids are to follow along with that. So give us an example when you mentioned some of the things that you're really intentional about. So a value or one of the things that you're like, it's really, really important that my kids see me doing this or learn this specific thing from me.
Yeah, so one of them, like my kids love working out already, like at 10 and 7. Like, Dad, can we come to the gym with you
Yeah.
today? I got them like a weight bench for Christmas and some dumbbells and stuff, and they go out in the backyard and they understand that like it's not just about like the abs and the muscles are cool, but like that's not why I do it, right? I do it because it keeps me staying up here. Throughout the last 7 years, I've torn three different tendons, right? Like my pec, my right bicep, my left bicep. And when the gym was taken away from me, like it messes up my mindset. So they understand that it's more about building that strong and mental fortitude. Second is how to treat women, right? Like how to be like the rock and the emotional, just level head, and to not react emotionally, because that's what I used to do so often. And I realized that when, let's say your wife is emotional, right, and she's vibrating down here, all stressed out, and then you come and meet her down here, you guys both just plummet. And then something that could be resolved in a couple of minutes is goes on for
Yeah.
days, right? Now, if she's down here and you stay calm and up here, you can bring her back up here like relatively quickly. So that's the second thing. And also is just like strong positive mindset and never complaining about anything, always taking accountability. So when I mess up in front of them, right? Like the other day I was doing homework and I'm like, dude, like don't do it in your head. Like take your time, do it out. And he just like 45. I'm like, damn it. And I smashed the table and he got upset. And I'm like, dude, like, my bad. I messed up, right? I shouldn't have acted like that. So to take accountability for their actions and to never talk bad about themselves, like bad about themselves, their day, or like what, because like after Christmas break, they're like, oh, tomorrow's going to suck. Like, oh.
Yep.
And I'm like, you're right. It is. Why? And he's like, he knew. He's like, because I said it is.
Yeah.
Exactly. So the next day I woke up, he was journaling, I'm going to have a great day today. I'm going to have a great day today, like 20 times. Right. So those are just a couple of core values that I,
Right.
want to pass along to my kids. Yeah.
Powerful stuff. And hit the nail on the head too, Jim, around the idea of taking personal accountability for your actions, but then also not just telling your kids the hero story, right? I think it's important for us as dads in particular, as we're talking to our kids, if we do something that is off or not in alignment with the values that we're trying to teach them, we need to own that shit and talk to our kids about it. I mean, I've had a lot of moments
Yeah.
recently. Once that was clear to me. Before that, I was, even if I made a mistake, I would be like, all right, I'll just go in the opposite direction and be even more friendly and happy and whatever in front of my kids. No, I need to own it, right? And then the other thing is to tell them the stories about the difficult things that you went through, because it's not going to be an easy road for them. It's not going to be limos and hookers for all the kids as they're growing up, right? So they need to
Yeah.
understand that there's going to be difficult times. So if you share the difficult times that you had with them as they go through them, it's like, dad just wasn't the guy who got the cheerleader, hit the game winning home run, and made the $1 million. It's like,
Yeah.
no, dad struggled with this and this. And so as I'm struggling, I know that I'm able to overcome whatever that obstacle is in my path. Really, really powerful stuff right there. Want to close the loop on dad right now. Two questions. One is, do you still have a relationship with your father? And then let us know something that you took from him that you will never, ever, ever do as a father, and something that you took from him that you're like, all right, this is something that I do want to do with my own kids.
Yeah. He passed last year, actually, about like 7, 8 months ago.
Okay.
Just eventually, I think just like the drugs and everything caught up to him, and it's a shame because he literally, was like the king of the world for a long time, and he ended up passing away in like this just small, just like condo, just when I went there to clean his stuff out, it was just he was living just in filth. It was
Yeah.
just terrible to see what it was. But before he passed, I very limited contact, right? He'd reach out to me sometimes I would answer, sometimes I would not. It was usually for help or for money or for something. So I usually just kept a little bit of distance to protect myself. Looking back at it, I wish I did pick up more a little bit, but it is what it is. Now, one thing that I'll never teach my kids is like that. Just I guess like the partying and the fighting, right? Is that like that's not what makes a man, right? Like it's actually like weak if you have to like drink or do drugs or something to like feel good about yourself or to like be around a lot of people. And secondly is like I got in so many fights in middle school and high school just because like someone looked at me the wrong way. I was just like throwing down like immediately because that's what like my dad taught me, right? And of course, there's some circumstances, right, where physical violence is necessary, but like 95% of the time, you can um, do something else about it, right? So that's two things I will never teach my kid. One thing that I would do teach them is that my dad did teach me about like just a positive mindset, and he can do anything. You can do anything when you put your mind to it. So like my father, when I was pregnant, excuse me, not when I was pregnant, when I was my mom was pregnant with me, he was working for this advertising agency, and I guess they knew the situation at the time. They tried to like I guess like bully my dad around to like do certain things because like they knew he needed the job.
Yeah.
He was pretty much like screw you, and he literally just bought a little office space, sat down with a desk and like a yellow pages, and like started calling car dealerships, and ended up like growing a multi-million-dollar business
Wow.
from just literally him himself and like the yellow pages. So he was a brilliant man. He just got too much into the drugs and the alcohol. So I think a lot of dads they're like, you can do anything, but then like the fathers don't do anything that they can do, right? They're like stuck in these jobs that they hate and this just mediocre body and lifestyle, but then they're saying, you can do anything, son. But then they're not doing anything themselves. So it's incongruent with
Right.
the message that they're sending.
What was
Um,
your relationship like with your own mom?
Give me one. I gotta plug my charger in. Sorry, bro.
Yeah,
Give me
yeah,
one.
yeah.
My bad. Ugh, I don't want to die on you. Sorry, bro.
No, it's a good time. We'll do a commercial break.
Yeah, you can edit that out. Um,
This episode's brought to you by Element
there
and Alpha Brain by Joe
you
Rogan's
go.
company. Go
Yeah.
ahead.
My mother. So my relationship still with my mom is amazing. She's an amazing woman. Like my kids ask every single weekend, can we go stay at Mimi's house? And
Yeah,
once I started, because my mom didn't know a lot of this was going on. My mom didn't know about the drunk and the hookers and
yeah.
all of those things. And when she found out, like it broke her heart. that like she's like, I can't believe like those things were going on and I let that happen and it was my fault. And I'm like, no, it wasn't your fault. Like it was dad and me. Um, so but me and my mom, we have an amazing relationship. She's an amazing woman. She's obviously been through a lot with my father, with me, with my brother, right? So she's been through hell and back as well. And she's the strongest woman I know to still be, standing here today and being just an amazing grandmother. She lives 10 minutes from me, and anytime I'm like, I don't even ask anymore. I'm just like, I'm bringing the kids over.
Yeah.
Like, we need a little break. So, yeah.
We were raised in they were parallel environments, I would say, where we were raised with our with the dynamics with our fathers and our mothers. And it is so important to have that strong presence in your life. And so I had my mother was great as well. I'm super close to her. Actually, during this interview, she called me while while we were talking. I had to silence the phone really quickly. But before I ask the last question, Jim, talk to us a little bit about, like, how do we get involved in the Awakened Father if that's something that we're interested in, and then the future of it, and then where we can find you. So talk to us about
Yeah.
those things.
Yeah, definitely. So, I'm on Instagram at The Awakened Father, YouTube, Facebook, the same. And pretty much I have a link in my bio. You can go fill out the link or just DM me. I'll send you the details of that. And really the process is just like I give guys, customized workout and meal plan again to first get them healthy physically, feeling good about themselves. We have like 2 weekly Zoom calls a week where the whole community gets together and kind of I teach a lesson for the day, open it up for Q&A. Sometimes it's just like an open discussion. I'll let the guys talk and share what's going on in their lives. And I feel like that's a huge aspect of it as well. I'm not only there to like motivate and like hold people accountable and call people out on their bullshit sometimes. We're like, hey, you're not doing this, you need to be doing better. But also giving men and fathers like that community, that space where they can understand like, hey, he's going through the same thing I am. Like I'm not alone. And wow, like he's struggling with that too. And like we all learn from each other. It's just not like me
Yep.
teaching other men. Like all of us, we support and we grow with each other. And over the last 6 months or so, it's been amazing just to see the community grow. And we do like challenges. So like last month we did dry January, where like no smoking, no drinking, like no porn, cut it all out. So they get points for that. They get points for their workouts, and so like I gamify it,
Yeah.
right? This month the guys were like, I love that. Like like what can we add in now? So then we added in like extra points for family time, and a huge one was like the inner work, right? So once I added the inner work, they really started doing that more, and yeah, just a great community where we not only hold each other accountable and call each other out and support each other, but create that space as well to just because most men they keep stuff inside. They don't want to talk to their wives about it. They don't want to talk to their friends about it, right? And so it creates that space to allow them to feel safe in that environment.
And most of the talk with the friends, if they do have that group, a lot of it is, oh, did you watch the game last night? Oh,
Surface
did
level
yeah,
stuff. Yeah.
exactly, that stuff as well.
Yeah.
So many synergies between the work that we're doing, the same type of stuff, except my work is with kids that are between like 12 and 18.
Yeah.
But the same thing, they still need that. And my hope is that
Sure.
if we can start with, little Jimmy at 13 years old, you could avoid a lot of the pitfalls down the road when he recognizes, like, listen, I'm not the only one who's feeling this way or going through this specific thing.
And that's the whole
Um,
thing. Sorry to cut you off, but that's the
yeah,
whole thing that I want to do is
yeah,
impact these men so they can raise better children, right? And so their children don't have to struggle with the things that we're struggling with
yep.
right now. So it's like the most impactful thing that I can do is like if I can change these men's lives and these men's mindsets and their perspective on themselves and life, and that can trickle down to their children, like you're literally changing the trajectory of like this family for generations to come potentially. So like that's the whole reason is like to get them in a better mindset, better in shape physically, so they can lead their kids by example. Because I think you can tell like the difference between the kids 20 years ago to now is drastic.
Oh, yeah.
Is just drastic. And I think it's a large lack of just like weak fatherhood, right? Not only just weak physically, but weak mentally, not present, not conscious, not aware, and just that victimhood mentality. And they're passing that weak mentality along to their kids, and they're going to struggle for life because of it. So if I can change their mindset and their mentality about life, their kids can be better because of it.
Perfect segue into my last question, Jim. You mentioned the word trajectory. My last question on the podcast is always, if someone's listening to this last hour or so on the podcast, I got a ton of value from you sharing those like really deep personal stories, tear jerking moments. They got a ton of value with your mindset, all the insights that you provided to us. And they press stop right now on the podcast. And there's only one thing that they can do. And by doing this one thing, it could totally change the trajectory of their life. What would that one thing be?
Get in the gym, get physically fit. Like I can't stress that enough. It sounds so simple, right? And they're like, that can't change my life. But I'm telling you right now, it has more of an impact on you mentally than it does physically. It can change your entire life around. And even if you think you're doing well, right? And if you get in the gym, you get physically fit, it will, like you said, change the trajectory of the rest of your life because of that mental resilience it takes to build your physique. Those characteristics will transfer to your relationships, to your work, to every single thing that you do in life. So that's the one thing that I would do if I wanted to change my life.
Yeah, dude, appreciate it, man. This has been an awesome conversation. Let's continue it again in the future. I'd like to keep tabs on what you're doing, and then if there's anything I could ever do to support, man, really, really appreciate the time.
Hey, likewise, man. I love that you're impacting like the younger generation. They need it now more than ever. So anything I can do to support you as well, just I'm always down.
You got it, brother. For the Building Men audience, if this episode resonated with you in any way, please consider commenting on it, liking it, reviewing it, and more than anything, sharing it out with anyone that you think might get value from this conversation. For Jim DeFalco, Building Men audience, go one step further than you thought you could go. We'll see you next time on Building Men.